The hangar doors screamed open as the human shuttle skidded onto the alien platform, sparks showering against the steel walls. "Hold her steady," shouted Lieutenant, gripping the controls as alarms blared and warning lights flashed red. Outside, the sky burned with the strange green storms of Prime, and through the chaos, a massive shadow descended. A voice, resonant and cold, boomed through the platform's speakers. "By galactic law, you are hereby declared the chosen consort of Princess." Froze, what are you talking about?" he shouted, fumbling to reach the comm panel. But the voice cut him off again, more insistent this time, echoing in every corner of the hangar. "You human are now bound to her. Objection is not permitted." A figure descended from the shadow, massive and regal, cloaked in luminescent armor that glimmered like starlight. The alien queen. Her presence alone bent the air, the kind of presence that could quiet an entire planet. She extended a clawed hand toward him. "Step forward or risk the consequences of defiance." Stomach churned. He had been on countless first contact missions, trained for hostile negotiations, ambushes, even assassination attempts. But never a law that could claim him as someone's husband. And not just anyone's. Princess, the young, untouchable heir of the Empire. He looked toward the observation deck where the princess herself stood, her silver hair flowing over her shoulders like a river of moonlight, her eyes wide with shock and something else he couldn't read. Fear, apprehension, or hope. You can't just do this," said, raising his hands, trying to keep the trembling out of his voice. I'm not. "By galactic law," the Queen repeated, her voice cutting through the storm, "your objection holds no weight. A human male of your genetic lineage is legally compatible with the princess. You are to assume your role immediately." Lightning struck the platform and the hull vibrated under their feet, swallowed hard, heart-pounding. This was no ordinary mission gone sideways. This was something beyond earthly understanding. He had been selected, and the whole galaxy seemed to demand compliance. Stepped forward, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't know it would be you." He blinked at her. "Me? Why, how did?" She raised a hand, shaking her head. "The Queen's decree, it chooses, not us," but her lips curved into a hesitant smile. "But maybe it's not entirely bad." His mind raced. He was a soldier, a negotiator, someone trained for diplomacy, yes. But love, marriage, intergalactic law binding him to a princess whose culture, whose world, whose very life he barely understood. He wanted to scream, to fight, to run, but the Queen's gaze pinned him in place, like gravity had taken a new, merciless form. The Queen lowered her head, her mandibles clicking in an alien rhythm that instinctively understood as finality. "Prepare yourself," she said. "Your ceremony begins at sundown. Refusal is inconceivable." And with that, she swept from the hangar, leaving behind the lingering hum of authority and the acrid scent of ionized air. Slumped against the console, his mind racing faster than the shuttle's engines. He was a human, a negotiator, a visitor on this planet, and yet in less than an hour he would be the husband of an alien princess, whether he wanted it or not. Moved closer. "You'll be okay," she said softly, her hand brushing against his arm. "I've read the laws. If we play it right, we might survive this, even thrive." "Thrive?" laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "I can barely survive a single welcome, let alone thrive as someone's husband. I don't even know how to do that." Her gaze met his, unwavering and unafraid. "Then we'll learn together." The green storm outside the hangar raged on, the winds screaming like a warning. But inside, for the first time, felt a sliver of clarity amidst the chaos. Whatever this law, whatever this Queen demanded, he had a choice. Not to refuse, perhaps, but to face it, head-on beside the princess who somehow already made him feel like more than a human soldier. The clock ticked toward sundown, the ceremony would start, and the galaxy would watch. The halls of the palace stretched impossibly high, glittering with alien metals that reflected every flicker of the green storm outside. Followed through corridors lined with statues of past rulers, their eyes seeming to track him with judgment. The weight of the Queen's decree pressed on him like the gravity of a dying star. "Do they always watch like that?" he muttered, nodding at the statues. Smiled faintly. "Only when the heir is about to marry, they judge every action, every thought. You'll get used to it, or not survive the first trial. Trial froze. There's more than the ceremony. His expression darkened. The ceremony is just the start. The trial of vows comes first. It proves your worthiness to the princess, her trust, her life, her world. If you fail, you're exiled or worse. Stomach turned. Exile might sound better than marriage, except exile meant floating alone in the void with nothing but your shuttle and an empty galaxy to keep you alive. Worse was indescribable. He didn't want to think about it. The chamber for the trial was vast, circular, and lit by 1,000 suspended crystals that hummed with energy. At the center, a pedestal glowed with a soft blue light. Stepped forward, gesturing for him to follow. The trial tests your bond, not your strength, she explained. It reads your mind, your fears, your intentions. It will show me and everyone else whether you are truly worthy. Swallowed hard, reads my mind. She nodded. Law requires transparency. No lies, no pretenses, only truth. He felt a cold sweat on his brow. And if it rejects me? Her eyes softened. Then we fail, together or apart, but you must try, trust me. Before he could respond, a shimmering dome rose around them, encasing them in a sphere of energy. His vision blurred. He felt his thoughts pulled outward, spinning in the crystal light. Memories, fears, doubts, all exposed. He tried to control them, to hide the parts of himself that screamed, I'm not ready, I'm not capable, I don't belong here. But the trial would not be deceived. A voice, melodic and alien, echoed in his mind. Truth reveals the heart. What do you feel for the princess? His throat tightened. I don't know yet. I respect her. Yes, she's extraordinary, strong, braver than anyone I've ever met. But love, I've never thought this far ahead. The voice pressed further. Do you wish to protect her, even if it costs your life? His chest burned. Memories of battles, near-death moments, and the countless times he'd risked himself for strangers flashed through him. And now, in this alien world, he knew the answer. Yes, he whispered almost to himself. I will protect her, no matter what. The crystal light pulsed. The dome shimmered and felt an overwhelming warmth surge through him, as if the planet itself had acknowledged his truth. His hand found his, steady and reassuring. You passed, she said softly, her voice trembling slightly. Not because the trial was easy, but because you meant it. I can feel it. Relief crashed through him, but it was short-lived. The Queen's presence returned almost immediately, materializing at the edge of the chamber. Her gaze swept over them, unyielding and piercing. Interesting, she said. The human shows courage, but courage alone does not secure the princess. The trial of loyalty follows. You will be tested further against your own instincts, your own world. Fail that, and there is no mercy. Met's gaze, she didn't flinch, didn't waver. Somehow, despite the looming danger, her presence steadied him. He realized with a flicker of something unfamiliar that he wanted to fight, not just for survival, but for her. The Queen's words hung in the air like a storm waiting to strike. Prepare yourself, she said. The galaxy watches, human, and it does not forgive weakness. Clenched his fists. He had been thrown into an impossible law, an alien custom, and now an impossible trial. But one thought anchored him amidst the chaos. Whatever came next, he would not fail, not her, not the galaxy. As the chamber doors sealed with a hum of energy, took a deep breath. He was no longer just a visitor. He was bound, by law, by choice, by necessity, to a world he barely understood. And he had to survive it for both their sakes. The trial was far from over. The chamber's lights dimmed, replaced by a swirling projection of distant stars, galaxies spinning like jewels in the void. Blinked, disoriented as the air thickened with the scent of ozone and alien flora. The trial of loyalty had begun. A holographic image of his home ship, the one he had left behind in orbit, appeared before him, tethered to him by threads of light that pulsed with his heartbeat. Your instincts will betray you, the Queen's voice intoned. Will you protect your own life or hers? Stomach knotted. The illusion was so real he could hear the engines hum, feel the vibration under his feet. He could reach out and touch the controls. All his training screamed at him. Save your vessel, save your crew, return to Earth. But then he saw, standing at the other end of the projection, her eyes wide with expectation and fear. Every fiber of his body screamed in a new way. This wasn't a battle for survival alone. It was a battle for someone else, someone real, someone who had put herself in his hands, bound by a law he didn't understand but could not ignore. He lunged forward, stepping through the illusion, and the projection dissolved beneath his feet, replaced by the cold, hard floor of the chamber. The Queen's gaze bore down on him. Interesting. Loyalty begins with sacrifice, yet you chose her. Many humans would not. Before could respond, the chamber shifted. Walls melted into darkness, and he was surrounded by phantasms of enemies, generals, rogue mercenaries, shadowed figures of his past missions. Each one spoke in echoes of doubt. You can't protect her. You don't belong here. You're weak. You'll fail. His hands shook. His training told him to fight, but every strike seemed to meet air. The enemies weren't real, yet every fear they represented was tangible. One by one, he realized they were drawn from his mind, testing the loyalty of his thoughts. I won't fail her, he shouted, raising his fists not at the phantoms, but at the fear itself. I will not fail. The illusions recoiled and dissolved, leaving only reaching for him through the shifting darkness. Her hand found his, grounding him. I trust you, she whispered. That small phrase, simple and human, did something within him, felt a surge of clarity. Loyalty wasn't just about choosing her over his old life. It was about standing firm when everything else tried to pull him apart. He had fought for humanity before, for survival, for duty. But now, for the first time, he understood what it meant to fight for someone else, truly, utterly, and without hesitation. The Queen's voice returned, softer this time, yet carrying that same authority. You have endured the trial of loyalty. Few humans possess such clarity. You may yet serve the princess, and perhaps shape the course of her empire. Relief washed over him, but knew better than to relax. The Queen's approval was fleeting. The real test, the one that would define his role and his life, was still ahead, navigating the politics of, the dangers that came from rivals, and the weight of a galaxy watching his every decision. Squeezed his hand, her eyes shining. You passed because you believed in me. That means more than any law could. Exhaled, letting the tension in his shoulders ease slightly. He wanted to laugh, shout, cry all at once. The thought of what he had survived in the past months felt like training for this very moment. And yet the thought of what awaited them, the responsibilities, the scrutiny, the unrelenting expectations, loomed large. The Queen, still observing from the shadows, finally spoke. You are not yet free, human, but you have proven that your bond is real. Next, you will learn the ways of diplomacy and duty. Only then will you understand the depth of your commitment and the danger you invite upon yourselves. Swallowed hard, Gripping's hand. Whatever comes next, he said, voice low but firm, I face it with you. Nodded, her expression resolute. And I with you. The galaxy doesn't know it yet, but together we might just survive it and maybe even change it. The lights of the chamber brightened once more, revealing a massive window overlooking the planet's surface. The storm had not passed, but in its raging chaos saw the promise of clarity, purpose, and perhaps something more profound. Hope. The trial of loyalty was over, but the journey, the fight, the unexpected bond that bound them both had only just begun. The Grand Hall of Royal Council loomed above, and walls carved from iridescent crystal that seemed to shift with the viewer's mood. Hundreds of dignitaries, generals, and nobles filled the room, each radiating authority, suspicion, or outright disdain. Human senses screamed in overload. Voices, colors, the weight of countless alien eyes, all aimed at him like a predator sizing up prey. This is intimidating, he muttered, Gripping's hand. She smiled faintly, though tension lined her features. The council does not tolerate weakness. Every action, every word, every hesitation, it is scrutinized. And every human who enters this chamber is a novelty, a potential threat, or an opportunity. Swallowed, he had survived storms, trials, and illusions. But this was entirely different. No physical skill, no reflex could save him here. This was a test of diplomacy, composure, and he realized a kind of courage that had nothing to do with fighting. The chamber quieted as the Queen's voice echoed, filling the hall without a single movement of her lips. The human has been chosen as the consort of princess. By law, this union is binding. Yet the council may voice concern, as is their right. Speak wisely, human. His throat went dry. Eyes, some reptilian, some humanoid but alien in every sense, fixed on him, judging, weighing, calculating. He began, his voice rough but steadying. I understand the responsibility I am taking. I do not pretend to understand all of culture, law, or tradition. But I promise this, I will serve the princess, this empire, and its people to the best of my ability. And I will learn, I will adapt, and I will protect what you hold most dearly. Murmurs swept through the chamber. Some were skeptical, some curious, some impressed. A tall, armored counselor stepped forward, mandibles clicking in a rhythm instinctively recognized as challenge. And what of loyalty to your own species, human? Will you betray your own for this, union? Or are you merely a pawn in a galactic spectacle? Felt his chest tighten. I am human, he said, voice firm. I will never betray my people, but I will not betray hers either. Loyalty is not a zero-sum game. I will protect both when I can. When I cannot, I will stand for what is right. His fingers tightened on his hand. His courage bolstered her, and she, in turn, radiated strength that even the stern counselors could not ignore. Another counselor, smaller but fierce-eyed, hissed. You risk everything, princess. Accepting a human, especially one untested, could destabilize alliances, spark rebellion, or worse. Do you not fear the consequences? Met their gaze steadily. I fear nothing more than standing idle while fear dictates our choices. If I must face rebellion, I will do so alongside someone I trust, and I trust him. The hall was silent, realized the weight of her words, not just for him, but for the Empire. Every eye that had doubted him now searched for weakness in, but she gave none. The Queen's voice returned, calm and resolute. The Council may question, the galaxy may speculate, and history may judge. But today the law is clear. The human is bound to the princess. Let this session serve as a lesson. Strength is not measured by size, species, or age, but by the courage to stand when all eyes are upon you. Exhaled, tension slowly leaving him, replaced by a quiet determination. He had faced illusions, phantasms, and trials meant to twist his mind. But this, the political battlefield, required something different. Adaptability, insight, and above all, a steadfast heart. After the council adjourned, led him to a balcony overlooking the city. Green storms still raged, but in the light of the twin moons, he could see the sprawling towers and glowing markets below. You did well, said softly. The council may still test you and enemies will watch for every misstep, but today you stood for more than yourself. You stood for us. Looked at her, feeling a warmth he could not name. I don't know if I can ever repay you for believing in me like that. You don't need to, she replied, her eyes reflecting the storm. Just keep standing, that's all I ask, that and survive what's coming next. His jaw tightened. The trials had been only the beginning. The storm outside mirrored the storm within the Empire, and he knew their lives, and the fragile trust they had built, would be tested again in ways that could break them or forge them stronger than any law or trial ever could. The wind howled across the balcony, carrying the scent of rain and ionized electricity. And human among the stars realized something profound. Survival was not enough. To endure here, to protect, to honor the Queen's decree, he would have to rise above everything he had ever known. The galaxy watched, and the first ripple of rebellion had already begun. The night air on Prime was thick with the scent of ozone and distant rain, and moved quickly through the palace corridors, their footsteps echoing against the crystal walls. Something had shifted in the council since the public session. Whispers followed them, shadows lingered too long, and instincts, honed through countless missions, warned him that danger was close. His hand tightened on his arm. I felt it too, she said softly. Not everyone accepted you today, some want to see you fail. His jaw set. Then let them try. I faced worse than politics before. A sudden metallic screech made them both freeze. The palace lights flickered, plunging the corridor into half-darkness. Before could react, a shadow lunged from the ceiling, a glint of steel catching the dim light. He twisted instinctively, grabbing and pulling her behind him as the dagger meant for her plunged into the wall instead, leaving a streak of molten crystal. Get down, he shouted. The assailant, small, lithe, and armored like an assassin, leapt again, but met them with a calculated counter, using his human reflexes in combination with sheer adrenaline. He had trained for combat, yes, but not this, defending a princess in an alien palace while every second carried the weight of failure. Her eyes, wide but steady, drew a small energy blade from her belt. "I can handle myself," she said, her voice cold and measured. "But we fight better together." Nodded, a rush of fierce protectiveness surging through him. For the first time, it was not just about surviving a trial or obeying a law. It was about survival, love, and trust, all fused into one raw, unshakable purpose. The fight was brief but brutal. The assassin moved with deadly grace but human ingenuity, unpredictable, chaotic, and relentless, paired with precise skill, made them a terrifying team. Finally, with a coordinated strike, the assassin was disarmed and pinned. Panted, adrenaline still coursing. "They wanted you," he said, voice low. "They would have killed you." Placed a hand on his chest, grounding him. "And you stopped them. I trust you more now than ever, not just because of what you do, but because of who you are. I feel safe with you." His throat tightened. The words were simple but heavier than any law or trial. For a fleeting moment, all the danger and politics and impossible decrees faded. There was only her and the bond they were forging in the crucible of this alien world. The Queen's voice then echoed through the chamber, calm, almost approving. "Clever human. Loyalty proven in words is one thing. Loyalty proven in blood is another. Today you have proven both. The galaxy will remember this." And exchanged a glance, knowing the Queen's words were as much a warning as praise. The assassination attempt was only a taste of what they would face. Rival nobles, alien factions, and unseen enemies, each would test them, and each could strike again. "We need to be ready," said, scanning the corridors. "They won't stop at one. The council is fragmented and someone wants to see me, us, destroyed." Swallowed hard, "Then we'll face them together." She nodded, her eyes glinting with determination and something deeper, something human in a way he hadn't expected in an alien princess. "Together," she repeated. As they moved through the palace, shadows still lingered but felt a surge of certainty. Whatever the galaxy demanded of him, whatever the Queen decreed, whatever dangers lurked behind every crystal wall, he would stand. Not for law, not for duty alone, but for their bond and for the life they were carving out against impossible odds. And in that moment, human among the stars, he understood something he had never known before. Courage was not just survival. It was standing for someone else when the universe wanted you to fall. The night was far from over. The storm still raged outside. But inside's heart a new fire had ignited, one that no alien law, council, or assassin could extinguish. The aftermath of the attack left the palace in a tense, uneasy calm, and stood before the council once more, this time not as strangers to scrutiny, but as symbols of resilience. The chamber had emptied somewhat, leaving only the most influential nobles, their eyes still sharp, their whispers quiet but palpable. "The humans survived," one elder counselor murmured to another. "And the princess as well, remarkable or reckless." His gaze swept the room. "The attack shows us two things," she began, her voice steady. "First, threats come from within, and second, our survival depends on unity, on trust. And we have that, I trust, and he has proven he will stand with me against any danger." Felt the weight of those words. In this alien world where the politics of 1,000 species intertwined, trust was rare and loyalty even rarer. Yet here in this chamber of shadows had chosen to make him more than an outsider. She had made him her partner, her equal in defense of not just her life, but her empire. A counselor rose, tall and stern, his voice cutting through the air. "And what of the humans' loyalty? Can we trust him beyond this palace, beyond this moment? What guarantee do we have that he will not retreat to his own kind when the next challenge arises?" Squared his shoulders. "There are no guarantees in the galaxy," he said. "But I don't run from danger. I don't abandon the people I care for. If that is trust enough, then I give it freely. If not, then I will prove it every day with every choice I make." The room fell silent. Even the skeptical counselors could feel the truth in his voice. It was not rhetoric. It was raw, human determination, a kind of resilience that alien minds respected but rarely possessed. The Queen's voice reverberated, cutting through the tension like a blade. The galaxy has watched the events unfold. Word of human courage will spread. Some will fear it. Some will admire it. Human, your actions have rippled farther than you realize. The galaxy will test you again, and your choices will shape not only the princess's fate, but the stability of itself. Swallowed, the enormity of her words pressing down on him. He had survived physical trials, illusions, assassination, and political scrutiny, but the galaxy itself, that was a force beyond comprehension. Every choice, every step, carried consequences not just for him but for countless lives across the stars. Stepped closer, placing a hand on his arm. "We face it together," she whispered. "No matter how far the ripples spread, no matter who watches or fears, we are bound by law, yes, but more importantly by choice, by trust, by loyalty." Looked into her eyes, seeing not just the weight of empire, but the strength of a human-like determination reflected in her alien gaze. He realized that this bond, born under the strictures of law, was now something deeper. It was their own declaration, their defiance against a galaxy that tried to dictate who they must be. "Together," he echoed, voice firm, a quiet promise amidst the echoes of the council chamber. Outside the palace, the storm of Prime had begun to subside, revealing the glittering cities beneath the clouds. And yet, the ripples of the attack of their bond and of human courage were already spreading. Across distant stars, across alien worlds, whispers began. A human, small in stature but vast in courage, had faced the impossible and stood beside a princess of. The galaxy would notice, the enemies would come, the trials would continue. But no longer feared what was to come. With beside him, with loyalty proven and courage sharpened by fire, he knew they could face anything. And perhaps in the midst of this alien storm, humans, flawed, unpredictable, resilient, could remind the galaxy that courage, heart, and loyalty were forces no law or power could contain. As they stood on the balcony overlooking the city, the twin moons casting pale light over their intertwined hands, realized the Queen's decree had changed everything. But it was their choices that would define the future. And for the first time, he was not just a human lost in an alien world. He was a force to be reckoned with. The twin moons of Prime hung low over the city, casting silver light across the palace spires. Inside and stood in the Hall of Decrees, facing the Queen herself. The air was thick with expectation, the weight of history pressing on them like gravity. After trials, assassination attempts, and political storms, this was the moment that would define not just their fates, but the fate of a galaxy watching from the shadows. "You have proven your courage, your loyalty, and your bond," the Queen intoned, her massive form illuminated by the soft glow of hovering crystals. "But there is one final test. Will you, human, and you, princess, choose each other, not because the law demands it, but because your hearts demand it?" His heart thudded painfully. They had been bound by law, but he knew now that the decree alone could never make him worthy. It was the trust he had earned, the dangers they had faced, and the choice he made in the dark halls of the palace, the decision to protect above all else, that defined him. Reached for his hand, her touch grounding him. She said softly, eyes searching his, "Whatever the galaxy expects, whatever the law says, I choose you. I always have." Swallowed hard, feeling the gravity of their journey, the trials, the council, the assassins, the whispers of the galaxy, and yet the answer was simple. "And I choose you," he said, voice steady. "Not because I have to, but because I want to, because I will protect you beside you with everything I have." The Queen's gaze softened ever so slightly, the mandibles clicking in approval. "By galactic law you were bound. By courage, loyalty, and love you are chosen. Your bond is no longer a decree, it is a legacy." A hush fell over the hall. The nobles, the counselors, even the distant observers of the galaxy seemed to pause. The human, the outsider, had not only survived law, assassination, and politics. He had risen above them, earning trust, respect, and a place beside the princess. Smiled, a rare, luminous expression that lit the hall. "Then, let this union be celebrated, not merely as law, but as the promise of what we can achieve together." Felt a warmth spread through him unlike any battle, adrenaline, or triumph he had ever known. This was not a victory of skill or power, but of heart, of choice, of humanity itself. In a galaxy of alien customs and rigid laws, it was human courage and loyalty that had carved a path forward. The Queen's voice rang once more, echoing like thunder. Let it be known across the stars. By law, by courage, and by heart, the human stands as the consort of princess. Their bond shall be honored, and their actions will shape the fate of for generations to come. Outside, the storm had broken. Light pierced through the clouds, reflecting off the crystal towers, bathing the city in silver and gold. Looked at, feeling a quiet awe at the world he now belonged to, not because law forced him, but because his heart had chosen to. "This is just the beginning," he whispered. Nodded, gripping his hand tightly. "Yes, the galaxy will test us again, but whatever comes, we face it together." And in that moment, understood the truth that had carried him through every trial, every danger, every shadowed corner of this alien world. Humanity, in its courage, loyalty, and capacity to love, could stand unshaken even in the face of the vast, indifferent galaxy. The twin moons shone down, and for the first time he felt not like a visitor or an outsider, but like a force of change, a symbol of what humans could achieve when heart and courage guided them. The decree had made him the husband, but choice, trust, and courage had made him something far greater, a partner, a protector, and a hero in a galaxy that had yet to see the full measure of human potential. Together they stepped forward, ready to face the future. By law, yes, but more importantly, by heart.